The US-China relationship is delicate on multiple fronts. One, of course, is the issue of Taiwan. The other is the issue of Tibetan autonomy, where both countries obviously have different positions. China considers Tibet part of its own territory. It doesn't call it Tibet, it actually calls it Xizang. And at the moment, the controversy is around former House of Representatives Speaker Nancy Pelosi visiting Tibetan spiritual leader Dalai Lama in his India home. You're watching Viewpoint. I'm Afrida Rahman Ali. Here on Viewpoint today, I want to break down for you the significance of this visit of Nancy Pelosi to Dharamsala and meeting the Dalai Lama, and break it down for you in terms of its implications for the relations between US and China. The fact that a US delegation is in India is of course for other purposes. You have Jack Sullivan, the National Security Advisor to President Biden, who have a series of meetings in New Delhi. But what has happened as an offshoot of this trip is the visit of a congressional delegation along with Nancy Pelosi visiting the Dalai Lama in Dharamsala. That has angered China even before the visit. As the news of this impending visit was reported in the media, China reacted sharply by saying that this is a provocation, that Tibet is part of Chinese territory, that the Dalai Lama is considered a separatist leader, and it is not going to help in US-China relations if US very openly extends support to the Dalai Lama. Nancy Pelosi has spoken effusively of the spiritual leader, lauding his efforts for humanitarian causes, calling him an ambassador of peace. He's a Nobel laureate. So of course those glowing tributes have been paid to the spiritual leader Dalai Lama by Nancy Pelosi. Now this assumes significance on another very important level. The fact that you had similar provocation by visits of US leaders to Taiwan. In fact, the last visit of Nancy Pelosi herself to Taiwan had raked up a major controversy, angering China to the extent that they ratcheted up their military operation around Taiwan. It actually escalated tensions with Taiwan after Nancy Pelosi visited Taiwan a couple of years ago. Now that memory is still fresh, and this time again, this sort of a visit by Nancy Pelosi to Dharamsala is surely going to again draw the wrath of China. The important part again here is the visit is happening in India. So India by default becomes a spectator to this entire issue. India has not expressed its position in terms of its support to US or to Nancy Pelosi's statements in any way. But yes, in terms of its support to Dalai Lama, that is absolutely clear. The spiritual leader has been staying in India since the 1960s, has taken shelter in Dharamsala, very much within Indian territory for all these years. So that of course again makes this issue an issue of why India and US is on the same side on the issue of Tibetan autonomy as well. Tibetan spokesperson speaking on this matter, remember the Tibetan government is a government in exile that operates out of India, and in fact Nancy Pelosi and team has visited a lot of these government offices during their trip. Now what I was trying to say is that this spokesperson of the Tibetan government has absolutely made it clear that Tibet issue or Tibetan autonomy issue should not be looked at through the lens of US-China rivalry. It should be dealt by the international community for what it is, from the lens of self-determination, the rights of the Tibetan people. So that's an interesting aspect again coming from a representative of the Tibetan government in exile.